We'll start on this end with Max. Max is the second mate on the smallest boat in the fleet at 9.2 metres, and the Army uses the boat to train its personnel and teaches the Army values of courage, initiative, respect and teamwork. I'm not quite sure how a Navy lieutenant sails on an Army boat, but I'm sure Max will be able to tell us that.
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky that I got chosen to come and do this. The story behind why I'm doing the Hobart with the Army team is that there were two members who couldn't get leave because they're helicopter pilots and they're on standby for emergency assistance over Christmas and couldn't get the time off to do the Hobart. So that's why I got pulled in.
Good duty.
Yes. Yeah, there are worse duties to have.
Yeah. I must say, Max, you guys must get the biggest bang for the buck for the money you invest. You're out there about 3 times as long as the Maxi owners. But how hard is it when everyone's tucked up in Hobart and you're still pushing along out there?
Well, it's great because then it's all to ourselves. There's no one to crash into and only stern lights to chase, but hopefully not this year.
Max was aboard Gunrunner in 2018 when they were 4th in their division and won the Corinthian Trophy. So you think you can repeat that again, Max?
Definitely. I think Navy will have a run for their money as well this year.
Very good. Might switch to the other end of the table and Rupert. Rupert Henry has 5 Rolex Sydney Hobarts behind him, and he's chosen to sail in the inaugural two-handed division. Rupert and Greg O'Shea won the 5,500 nautical mile Melbourne-Osaka double-handed race in 2018 with Rupert's previous boat, Chinese Whisper, and they've paired up again. Rupert, you must be pleased that we have a two-handed division finally in the Rolex Sydney Hobart race.
Really excited about it, David. It's a big part of the sport internationally, and the fact that the club and the Rolex Hobart race is included at this year is exciting and progressive for yachting in Australia.
Good. I actually sailed with Greg O'Shea a few years ago. He's a great bloke, and your partnership obviously works very well in the success in the Osaka race. And what's the secret and the thrill of the double-handed racing?
Well, the secret to a good teamwork is to expect arguments and crosswords, which the tighter you get, the more they happen, but you have to treat those as like water off a duck's back. And but the thrill of two-handed racing or single-handed racing is you get to do everything. You're always busy, and it's non-stop. It's fully engaging.
Great. And I know you've sailed many thousands of miles in the boat with family and friends, and she's a beautiful, luxuriously fitted out yacht. Can you tell us a little about the boat?
Yeah, well, Birding Palms is a J-boats, J65. So, like you say, it's a fast cruising boat. I'm in between full-on racing boats at the moment. So we decided to enter it in this year's race, and yeah, it gets along all right. Yeah.
Very good. And have you got any other two-handed events in mind?
Well, actually, we do. We're in the process of building what's called a Class 40 at the moment, which is a huge class. It's like a small version of the IMOCA 60s. So we're planning on launching that next year, and we're going to compete in the two-handed Transat Jacques Vabre, which is a 6,000-mile race from France down to Brazil. That's on in a year's time.
Fabulous. Good luck to you. I think I'll stick to. I think I'll stick to the 628 nautical miles to Hobart. Wendy.
Hi.
14th Hobart. She is the only woman to win an around-the-world race and has been guest skipper of the Maiden Factor Foundation's global voyage in 2018, skippering the boat from halfway around the world. As we've said, Wendy is sailing in the inaugural two-handed division on the second smallest boat in the fleet, Speedwell. How did all this come about, Wendy?
I've wanted to get into two-handed sailing for quite a while. I always like a bit of an adventure, and I thought that's the next step after what I've done in the past. And I was out sailing on Speedwell on a winter series from the CYC, and talking to Campbell, who's been a friend of mine for 20 years, and we just both started agreeing, yeah, it'd be a great thing to do, thinking, well, it'd be great if we had a boat, when luckily for us, Campbell's father said, you're standing on one, why don't you take this one? So that's how we got involved with it, and getting the boat ready is a big task, but we're pretty happy at the moment.
Excellent. So, second smallest boat in the fleet?
Yeah, it's a big step back. I've got to stop walking after 33 foot, otherwise I'm going to get very wet.
Yeah, you and the gun runner, you'll be battling it out.
Yep.
I think this year's a significant year with the 75th anniversary of women competing in the race. And I think they've certainly come a long way from Jane Tate and Dagmar O'Brien, who competed back then in the early years. And must have been very different for them. And have they inspired women, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, especially back in those days, as you said, things were completely different. And there's been a lot of trailblazers. I mean, you mentioned them all this morning with Vanessa, Adrian and Gail. And then don't forget people like Kate Cotty. She was the idol I looked up to when I first got into sailing. You know, she sailed around the world by herself non-stop, first woman to do it. So there has been a lot of trailblazers, it's nice to have those role models to look up to.
Very good. Thank you, Wendy. We'll move on to perhaps Matt. Matt Allen, the owner of Ichiban, is the reigning overall champion of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart. Matt's a past president of Australian Sailing, past Commodore of the CYC. He won the 75th race on his 30th race. He also won the race with Ichiban in 2017 and has a long list of victories with this remarkable boat, including winning her division in the Australian Sailing Championships for a third year in a row last January. Can she be the third boat to win 3 Sydney Hobart races, Matt?
Sounds like you're putting the moz on us already, but look, it's
doing it early.
It's a great challenge. I mean, no boat's either gone back-to-back wins since Freya in 1965. So it's an enormous challenge for us and the crew to really get the boat ready. Obviously, it's been a difficult winter break for everybody. People haven't done as much sailing as in previous years. There's a lot of pressure on us. We quite enjoy the pressure and making sure that we can, improve the boat's performance year on year as much as we can. But we know in this year's race, like any year, you've got to beat the boats around you, and around that sort of 50 to probably 70 foot mark, you've got some of the best boats that you'll find anywhere in the world. So you've got to beat all those boats around you, and obviously then the weather gods need to be kind to you. And we all know going into Storm Bay and the Derwent, it can be a real challenge each year. You might be looking good at Tasman Island, but you don't look very good because you've been becalmed in Storm Bay or the Derwent for a number of hours. So you need a bit of everything and leaving nothing to chance. So we'll see how we go, and we'll give it the best shot possible. Can I also say it's been an incredible result to get 89 entries to date. It's, I think, the confidence of the club, the confidence of Rolex, and also the confidence of the Tasmanian and New South Wales governments to get a fleet that's probably twice the size, if not more, of what we were probably thinking some months ago. So it's a terrific reflection to the club and Rolex and everyone involved to get the fleet to this stage, and it's, I think, very exciting for this year's race.
Thanks, Mac. Yeah, I'm sure you, with the other TP52s, you're going to have a heck of a competition because Quest has entered and she's a two-time winner.
Yep.
And Gualo, who finished second to you last year.
Yep.
And sailing pretty well at the moment. So it'll be very interesting to watch. And finally, with our panel, Christian Beck. Christian made his Rolex Sydney Hobart debut in 2017, finishing fourth over the line inside the old 2012 race record. Christian, who was named Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2017, returned to the race in 2018 and finished a close fourth over the line after a protracted close battle with the other Maxis, Wild Oats, Blackjack, Comanche. In last year's 75th race, Infotrack finished a very creditable second over the line, just 44 minutes behind Comanche. Christian, how do you feel your quest will go this year?
Well, I think we're very happy. The odds are probably better than we've ever had before, I think. So we're looking forward to it.
I'm sure it'll be a great battle with Blackjack. Just got to watch your navigator. That's my son.
He's actually the skipper on your sheet, by the way.
Is he? He can't afford it.
Yeah. Send him the bills. Yeah.
That's an oversight. And Brad's a rear commodore of the club and navigated Infotrack last year, so he's back in harness again, and they're preparing the boat as we speak. I'm sure that it's probably been a hard year with the COVID this year to get the boat prepared and organised and crew and so forth. Share a little of that with us.
I think it's definitely been challenging. Like, we had a lot of problems with COVID, like most people. But I think that there is a cohort of professional sailors out there that didn't have a lot to do for a few months there, but we're very happy that we could do it. And I think that, we're very excited to be here. It's sort of, it's a good way to hopefully get out of COVID with something like this.
Very good. Thank you, Christian. Any changes to her, or you haven't really had time this year?
No, because of COVID, we only just decided to go in a race probably a month or two ago. And we were really cost-cutting most of the year. We had up in Newcastle for a long time, as you know. So we were really thinking things were bad in March, April, like most people. And we've just really quickly just put it all back together and kind of got ready for the race.
Terrific. We're glad you're there. Well, thank you to our panel. That's all the questions I have, and we'll open the floor if you could just pop your hand up and ask any questions that you wish.
Christian, a number of the other Super Maxis aren't entering the race this year. How confident are you of taking out that one, or is it still?
Well, I think if you look at Blackjack, if you look at the numbers, we've raced each other the last 3 years. They've won 2, we've won 1. I think they're a better boat than ours. I'd happily swap their boat for ours. But what I'd probably say is that we're on a good trajectory. I think we came 24th the first time, 4th 2 years ago, 2nd last year. And I think if anything, our crew is very good, not taking anything away from Blackjack's crew, but the crew we've got has been great. It's a little bit affected by international travel. Like a lot of the people we've had in past years, we've been probably Volvo around world races, couldn't get here, so we've changed our crew mix, but we've still got the same core team.
So you're trying to claim underdog status, put the pressure on them, is that right?
Look, I think if I was putting a bet on, I would put a bet on them before us, to be honest. We've probably got a good chance being first out of the heads like last year, but to win the overall race, I'd rather be in their shoes than ours. Sure. Look, our theory over the last few years has been to have as many Volvo around the world ocean races as possible on the boat, because those sort of guys are used to doing like 6,000-mile legs across the Southern Ocean. So to them, a Sydney to Hobart's just an overnighter. It's very easy. So we try to get as many as we can, but they're generally all around the world. So flying them to Australia has proven to be largely impossible. We do have Tony Mutter, who really is running the boat. He's probably the skipper, you could say, but he will arrive in Australia soon, and we've got him. We had a few Spaniards and various other people at the bow, etc., last year that we just don't have. So we've got obviously local people who are very good, but it's not as proven as it was the previous 2 years. Well, Tony Mutter, I think, doesn't need to from New Zealand. We haven't got anyone overseas outside of New Zealand. Yeah. Look, I think the odds are improving for us each year, I believe. I mean, we've done better each year. I think the first year we forgot to put our form in at the end and got a 20-place penalty, probably indicated where we're at in the first year. And coming second last year indicated that that was a big transition. So I think that we're feeling better and better. I mean, the boat, we haven't done a lot to the boat, but the boat kind of has its moments and can do very well. It's in certain conditions, it's definitely unbeatable. It does depend a bit on how much of those conditions we get, but we're feeling very good, really. That's right. I mean, last year we handled it very differently. We had Comanche, which is a better boat than us in every way. So we would always do the different to them. If they went out wide, we'd stay in close, just because we knew that if we followed them, we'd lose. So we don't have to do that this year. We can race what we think is the best course. And I think the odds of winning are better than ever for a range of factors, but probably more than anything, the number of time that the core people have been on that boat. Look, we always worry about wild oats, and it's a shame they're not here. But I think that look, it'd be good for them to come, so that wouldn't worry us overly. We beat them last year, so we're not, they don't petrify us.
Question for Matt. On the TP52s, when you once you've got your sprinklers up, you tend to put your crew all the way back to the boat to keep the nose out. How does that square with social distance?
No. Well, it's a good question, David. Yeah, look, it's an issue. I mean, we've obviously got a situation where you're in close quarters. We don't have many people down below. You don't really get much sleep on the way to Hobart, and our COVID protocols are still being developed. We've luckily got one of Australia's experts, as it turned out, on our crew, Dr. James Patterson, and so we'll be taking advice on how to manage that from his, being one of the leading experts in Australia. Yeah, there's certainly protocols that we're putting in place, so we're not sharing, any utensils, things like that. So, but it will obviously make assessments as we get closer into the races to what is actually the situation on COVID-19 throughout Australia. We've got crew from Queensland, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, and one crew member from New Zealand. So, we've got to take that into account as well.
Wendy, for you, 14 Hobart, it's 628 nautical miles, it's grueling and stuff. How does it compare over the world?
I guess it's just that mental attitude as well. When I've sailed around the world, it's not a non-stop race, it's legs. So I would have been, quite frankly, terrified thinking, holy hell, I'm about to sail around the world with people that haven't got much experience. So I just broke it down to, okay, I'm just sailing to Rio this first leg, or to where else ever I've been. So it's breaking it down and keeping those small chunk size makes it a lot easier and manageable. So it's a little bit harder with the Hobart race because I'm on a smaller boat. It's going to seem a lot longer. So it's getting around that. You've got to have that attitude, this is how long it's going to take, and if we finish earlier than that, that's awesome, but you've got to have that time span, and it takes you, you know, on an ocean crossing, it takes you at least 5 days to get in the groove of the boat. In a Hobart race, you've got to try and get into that groove in the boat so much quicker, because by the time you get there, you're in the groove and you're finished. So it's just that mental preparation, I think, is really important.
And why, with all that experience under your belt, would you like just to have 2 of these time?
I'm starting to ask myself that now. It's just another challenge, you know. I like pushing myself and pushing those boundaries, and I have wanted to get into two-handed sailing for a long time, and we got the opportunity now that we can do that race, you know, two-handed to Hobart is awesome. So I want to jump and support that, and yeah, we got the opportunity, and it's something I've wanted to do for years, so very happy. The additional challenges are probably looking after yourself. I mean, Rupert will have a lot more experience with this than I. I've done a lot of two-handed sailing deliveries, you know, up and down the coast. Is preparing yourself. We tend to push ourselves a bit harder, thinking, okay, it's a short race, so I'm going to push hard, and maybe I'm not going to sleep now when I should. I let my sailing partner sleep. We're going to have to be aware of that, because, you know, every change we do, we're both going to have to be up on deck. So it's all fine me saying, okay, I can go 5 hours without sleeping. But then if something goes wrong, that could easily burst out to, you know, 10 hours before I get to sleep, which is not doable. So it's just that keeping an eye on the weather and looking after each other as well. So that's going to be the big thing, saying, okay, yeah, look, I do need to have rest now, and I'm going to take it. And just watching out for your partner as well. Yeah, I think so. You need to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. We've been friends for 20 years. We've sailed a lot together over the years on and off. So being aware of that. We actually did our first Hobart together, which was we just talked about the other day. So being aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses is an important part as well. And as Rupert said, yeah, there's going to be those words where you say, this isn't me talking, this is the tiredness talking. You know, I made up this new word, there's that, what is it, hangry? I made slangry when you're sleepy, hungry, angry. So I think there's going to be, and I'm always hungry, that's going to happen quite a lot. So you just got to be, okay, what I say now I don't mean. I'll apologise tomorrow when I think when I'm thinking straight again.